As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
My next question, Jimmy, is about Cheddar. And, we, on the podcast, once upon a time, and I got a lot of flack for this one, we had a conversation around ESPN pulling out of esports, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll say it again just because, I know I'll get flack again if I don't. But, it was very unfortunate for the people who lost their jobs there. I know a lot of them landed on their feet in other places, which is great. But I think my comment at the time was ESPN just fundamentally didn't understand esports.
Yes.
The esports content they were putting out was not good. And it was sort of like inevitable that was going to be how it ended. And I'm curious what you came away with as a learning from Cheddar, because Cheddar to me, is a very like millennial brand. Right? Very a younger audience than ESPN for sure. Yeah. Right? You would think esports would have been kind of the perfect fit there. I guess I'm curious what, like, obviously without making anything personal here, like just the business learnings you took away from Cheddar deciding to get out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, SEO is not everything. That is my biggest takeaway. We made many a mistake because of SEO, and because of the business side of it, like you think approaching esports like an equation will always lead you wrong. It is not this plus this equals this many views. Never, never. Esports is a living and breathing community. And first and foremost, you have to gain the respect of the community. Once you have that, then you can really make any sort of content and they'll come and watch. They don't care. But if you try and approach it the other way, where you come in with this super high production value, claiming to be an esports show, but only hitting the most SEO and trending topics, you fail to communicate with your audience. What you instead become is a news source, which nobody needs, because if you're looking at the esports audience, where Gen Z, where millennials, were a young audience, no one gets their news from video anymore, not quickly at least. So if there's anything really important, if I'm a gamer and I'm following news sources, or if I'm following my favorite games, I'm going to find out from their Twitter accounts or their social media. I'm not going to go to Cheddar specifically. What I will go to Cheddar for is for the discussion that they have around those things, is for the personalities that they have, is for the community that I know that I can go and find every single day. And so really my biggest learning was that, yeah, SEO is not everything. It will get you more clicks, but clicks do not necessarily equate to quality and content. And quality and content, although more slow growing than approaching it through an SEO standard, will give you a higher engagement rate on the viewer that's watching it. And they'll be engaged not only in views, they'll engage in the comments, they'll follow you on social. The quality of the viewer goes higher as well. And so, a successful story I think that you can find is from, say, Tyler Erzberger, who went from ESPN to being one of their premier reporters and now works at Upcomer, where they've approached it completely differently, where they approach it with a quality standard in mind and come with the quantity later. And they found huge success already. Their YouTube is already racking tens of thousands of views, if not hundreds of thousands, for the videos that they've been putting out. And their articles are well fleshed out. And I think even a stretch here, but I think a more complete example of what Upcomer is doing for esports is found in Polygon, where they've completely dived as deep as possible into gaming culture and explore the littlest things happening in these games, but find whimsy and find fun in sharing these tiny moments with people who have experienced those tiny moments, because they're gamers too. They're moments you could have only experienced if you were playing that game as well. And so Polygon finds so much success because they've got personalities, they've got people that are talking about what they're passionate about, and they're engaging with their community in a way that makes sense. Their articles aren't SEO based. They do have PS5 articles coming out, or like whatever the next trending thing is, but the bulk of their heavy hitting content and what they're known most for is for those pieces, which dive into the nittiest and grittiest of things that end up blowing up because people want to know that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, people want to know that.
Is it safe to conclude then, based on, like, I love the insight here. Is it safe to conclude that big media companies therefore are likely to fail when it comes to gaming and esports content because they're always going to be looking at, you know, click-through rates and, you know, as opposed to trying to build for the long term the community that, you know, you've mentioned over and over that is necessary to success from a content perspective in the space? Like, are the big media companies somewhat doomed when it comes to gaming and esports content unless
100%.
they fundamentally understand that community piece?
100%. That's exactly what happened with Cheddar. Like, not even to get into specifics, that's exactly what happened. We, after a year of doing the live show, we were at over 50,000 followers on Twitter organically. That doesn't happen overnight, but that happened. 58,000 over a year is pretty great growth for especially a daily live over the top platform, meaning we had found a chord in the community, we had struck it, and we were resonating. But unfortunately, the impact we were having on the community and the impact that our content was having and the eyes that it was reaching all across the community are not things you can factor in when you're looking at engagement rates. They're not things that you can factor in when you're looking at, are things getting click-throughs, right? Are we trending on Google searches? It's like weighing the same metrics that bigger companies in media are using now are not the same metrics that are important for long-term success in esports. If you're looking to pump and dump content and to prove a point to your own company that, like, hey, we pumped and dumped a lot of content, it got 0 views, we're going to pull out of esports, I think that's a great way to fail. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of companies do exactly that. Come in with a lot of money, a lot of production, 0 heart and 0 understanding of the community, and they're immediately written off by the community as being not genuine whatsoever. So why are we going to watch them? You know what I mean? And you try posting like something super corporate like that on Reddit, you get torn up. But if you're understanding the community, you're interacting with them where they live, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, you're going to those pages, you become a bastion of the community and a pillar instead of a leech. And that's like the view of, you know, someone who's in the community and seen this happen time and time again.
Would you say that Mixer maybe was you know, did they make the same mistake? I'm curious in your mind.
Mixer,
did it lack heart? Did it lack that
Mixer
focus on
had
community?
heart, but it had nothing else. That was the problem. Mixer had heart. Mixer had heart in its staff, in its streamers. They were in love with the product, but nobody was watching them. Twofold. One, the platform and the UX and the UI design was atrocious. Atrocious. How are you Microsoft and you come out with a product? Oh my God, it was disgusting. It was gross. The only thing they had running for them, why would you use Mixer, right? Why would you go to Mixer? It was a poorer Twitch in every standard. The only thing they had running for them is FTL, right? Super low latency transmission, meaning the interactions that were happening between you and the streamer were instantaneous. They had that for a while before Twitch did. Twitch now has it. But
you could stream snipe that much more effectively.
You could stream snipe that much more effectively. But on the inverse, you could also think of all the interactive and creative game show type content, or, you know, so many other things you could have done that they didn't run with. Why not tout that as your differentiating factor in competitive gameplay, in interacting with the community? And instead, why tout, like, they focus so much on the community without figuring out why they were important to be in the community. And I think that's where they failed. They only had this FTL thing going for them and the strength of their community. And then by the time Twitch got that, what else does Mixer have except for a bunch of subpar Xbox streamers? You know what I mean? Like, where is the content? Where is the ingenuity in terms of developing content that's on the bleeding edge? If you've got this leading technology, let's use it in a way to create leading media. You know, like, it seemed like a disconnect in terms of what they really wanted to achieve. And it seemed like, honestly, I'm not going to lie, it seemed like Microsoft wanted to get into live streaming and esports, and they found this like Beam.io, and they were like, yeah, these two kids look like they can do something. And then 3 years later, both these CEOs had left the company, and they were like, okay, yeah, Microsoft's going to do whatever. One of them is doing laser shows, and the other one's on boards for gaming companies or something. They didn't seem to have a product that they believed in all the way. You know what I mean? They weren't sure what was their standout point. They weren't sure it was FTL, so they didn't commit. They weren't sure if it was the strength of their community, so they didn't commit on that end. And the marketing, it was like a dating app. Come mingle on Mixer. Like, what? What do you remember those? Like, they were all over the place, and it's just like, what? You don't like it was just a massive disconnect, it seemed like, on all ends. And I think people were trying very hard to make it work. And shout outs to them for trying as hard as they did, but I don't know, man.